Balancing nature preservation with industry demands. UAE President's funeral takes place in Abu Dhabi, and Sarawakian hammer throwers shine in SEA Games. Those are the headlines for tonight. I'm Hendy Gui, and this is TVS Nightline. The timber industry is one of Sarawak's major income earners, with an export value of 3.89 billion ringgit last year, with a 4% increase compared to the year 2020. And due to the state's heavy reliance on large-scale land exploitation, especially timber extraction, balancing nature preservation with industry needs is certainly not a walk in the park. I had the opportunity to interview Deputy Minister of Urban Planning, Land Administration and Environment, Dr. Len Talif, on the matter. Let's hear what he has to say. Deputy Minister of Urban Planning, Land Administration and Environment, Dr. Len Talif Saleh said issues such as deforestation and land degradation are undeniable in order for development to take place. However, the minister said efforts have been undertaken to ensure the sustainability of the resources, at the same time preserve the state's nature.
Timber industry has been our main revenue earner. And in fact, if you look at how our big six developed over the years, and they were involved in this timber industry since 1960s, 1970s. But timber has been the main revenue earner for them as well. But over the years, they have diverse. But then over the years, we have shift from the what do you call it, the harvesting of native, or what I call natural forest, into the plantation. So timber forestry, we still remain quite a major revenue earner, and going to be a major contributor of employment and other business activities. But we are going to engage more timber from the industrial plantation.
Adding that such initiatives would help reduce reliance on timber from native forests.
So there is a move for us to reduce our reduction or reliance on the native timber into the forest plantation. Because if you look in terms of the productivity, because while the native forests grow about 2 cubic meters per hectare per year, plantation can grow up to 25 to 30, which is more than 10 to 20 times more productive than the natural forest.
At the same time, Dato' Len Talif said the state government has planted approximately 300,000 hectares of planted forest, which will be the main source of raw materials in the future. This is also to ensure continuity of product flow while conserving the nature.
Our main source of raw material for the future is going to be from the planted forest. So while we have reduced our production from the natural forest, so at the same time we need to advance, or we need to upgrade, or we need to be more aggressive into forest plantation. Up to this point of time, we already planted about 300 to 350,000 hectares of land with the fast-growing species. So the future supply for downstream activities should be from this forest area.
Commenting further, Len Talif stressed that non-destructive approach has been implemented, in which destructive logging is now a thing of the past.
So because of that, we are going to make sure that our forestry sector is to be sustainable, but not how the way we did it before, by engaging into massive logging activities, but by non-destructive monetizing approach. Say like I said just now, ecotourism, wildlife sanctuary, research, and all this. So that is more sustainable. Then of course there are a move toward carbon credit, Then you talk about the RADD, reduction of emission of destruction and deforestation. So all of these initiatives are being put in place so that we can monetize that resources without destroying it.
The state's primary industry, most notably forestry, are a significant part of our economy, and the timber industry has been and will continue to play an important role for the economic sector in Sarawak in terms of employment opportunities, business creation, and export earnings. And since timber resources are among the state's major income contributor, there is a critical need to maintain the right balance between conservation and development. As such, the state government has retained almost 50% of its landmass as tropical forests in the midst of rapid development to increase the state's economy and at the same time to preserve our natural forests for the future of Sarawakians. I'm Handy Gui for TVS. United Arab Emirates UAE President Sheikh Khalifa bin Zayed Al Nahyan, a pro-Western modernizer who had aligned Arab states closer to the United States and its allies, was laid to rest on Friday, May 13 in Abu Dhabi.
On Friday, the Ministry of Presidential Affairs announced the death of Khalifa, who was also ruler of Abu Dhabi, the UAE's richest emirate, but gave no details. Khalifa, born in 1948, had rarely been seen in public since suffering a stroke in 2014. He was buried wrapped in a UAE flag at Al Batin Cemetery after officials and family members held prayers. Meanwhile, Sheikh Mohammed Zayed bin Sultan Al Nahyan, known by his initials as MBZ, has for years been the de facto ruler of the UAE, an OPEC oil producer and a major trade and tourism hub which has moved to build its political influence in the region and abroad. UAE state media on Friday started referring to MBZ as the new ruler of Abu Dhabi, which holds most of the UAE's oil wealth and has held the presidency since the founding of the UAE Federation by Khalifa's father, the late Sheikh Zayed bin Sultan Al Nahyan, in 1971. Under the constitution, Vice President and Premier Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, ruler of Dubai, would act as president until the Federal Supreme Council, which groups the rulers of the 7 emirates, meets within 30 days to elect a new president. The UAE announced a 40-day mourning period with flags flown at half-staff and suspended work at all public and private sector organizations for 3 days.
The national men's and women's hammer thrower claimed their champion status at the 31st SEA Games, delivering Malaysia's goal number 12 and 13 today. Sarawakian Jackie Wong and Grace Wong dethroned their Thailand nemesis to respect their respective titles at the Maidin National Stadium.
Grace Wong got the hammer flying for Malaysia by winning the women's title with a hurl of 57.13 meters in the 4th attempt, though it way off her national record of 62.48 meters set at the Malaysian Grand Prix April of last year. She still managed to dethrone Ming Kamon Kumpon for silver, while another Thailand representative, Panwat Gimsrang, took home the bronze. Meanwhile, Jackie also captured back his title by edging his arch-rival Kittipong Bun Mawan for the 2nd time in the men's event with a hurl of 66.49 meters in the last attempt. Kittipong, the 2015 and 2019 champion, has his best throw of 64.54 meters, while another Malaysian, Sadat Marzuki Ajizan, secured the bronze with a 58.86 meter hurl. Jackie Wong clinched the gold in the 2017 SEA Games with a games record of 65.90 meters, but had to settle for silver in the 2019 Philippines edition as Kittipong took the gold with a new games record of 67.56 meters.
Now, Malaysia will soon have its first data center Tier 4 to connect Sarawak with Batam in Indonesia, with its underwater cable to be centered in Santubong, Sarawak. Known as the Batam Sarawak Internet Cable System, it is the first international telco underwater cable produced by a Sarawak-based telco infrastructure manufacturer, PP Telecommunication, together with its partner company in Batam, XL Axiata.
The cable is expected to provide the capabilities required to support the digital transformation in this region. According to the PPTEL website, the data center will contribute towards the realization of plans to build digital film and television studios, office integration, small or home offices, online business and incubator centers, hotels, restaurants, and tax-free supermarkets in Santubong. It is also able to serve the different mission-critical customers on the island of Borneo and Asia Pacific. In its statement, PPTEL also mentioned that it will continue the second international underwater cable system project, known as the Southeast Asia Hainan-Hong Kong Express Cable System. The 5,000-kilometer-long underwater cable will connect Hong Kong and Hainan in China, the Philippines, Thailand, Sarawak, and Singapore, to be extended further to Vietnam, Cambodia, Peninsula Malaysia, and Indonesia. The Southeast Asia Hainan-Hong Kong Express Cable System, or CH2X, consists of an 8-pair fiber cable between Hong Kong and Singapore with a capacity of 160 terabytes per second to meet the broadwave needs in the region. The project is expected to be completed and ready to be used by 2024.
The Sarawak government plans to provide subsidies to farmers and fishermen in the state based on certain criteria to assist them in their economic activities. Sarawak Minister of Agriculture, Modernisation and Regional Development, Dr. Stephen Rundi Utom, said the assistance was to ensure that the farmers and fishermen are guaranteed regular incomes.
Kerana kalau tidak, mereka sentiasa diberi subsidi sampai bila akan mereka hadapi keadaan begini. They will forever dependent on assistance. That should not be the way forward for all of us.
However, Rundi stressed that the assistance was only temporary.
Nelayan 5 bulan pasal dibantu kerana musim tengkujuh. Kalau kita meneruskan keadaan sedemikian, bila masa nelayan yang boleh berjaya dalam kehidupan dan berdikari. So we have to find ways and means bagaimana kita dapat melakukan bantuan ini secara efektif dan juga secara sustainable.
Rundi was met by reporters at the P. Ramlee Auditorium of Radio Television Malaysia, RTM Sarawak, on Friday, May 13, for the recording of a program in conjunction with the upcoming Gawai Dayak celebration.
The transition to the endemic phase, which began on April 1st, is clearly bringing joy and relief to all parties, especially those in the tourism sector, after witnessing a slump amidst the COVID-19 pandemic. These include two of Sarawak's most attractive destinations, Damai Central and Sarawak Cultural Village, which now sees a higher visitor traffic compared to the situation during the pandemic.
According to MELATI MILI, a local craft maker at Damai Central, she was delighted with the improving situation in her business now that the state is transitioning into the endemic phase.
Kalau mundi tanggal kami masa tu lah, ada okey sikit lah, dibandingkan sebelum ni nang banyak nang teruk je lah. Dari segi jualan kami wang di situ kurang lah. Tapi tu masa tu ada okey sikit lah. Kak Ya lagi pun pelancong yang datang situ alhamdulillah, tetapi kebanyakannya yang banyak dari West Malaysia lah, dari Semenanjung, tapi nak dari luar negara belum ada lagi lah. Kak Ya lokal banyak juga datang, terutamanya Sabtu Minggu yang banyak datang.
For Nur Amelia, Damai Central received more visitors after the transition. She added that annual events such as the Rainforest World Music Festival, which will be held soon, would be able to attract not only domestic but also international visitors to Sarawak.
Kini itu lebih meriah lagi lah daripada 2 tahun yang lepas. Bisnes kini itu dah kembali ke normal lah. Pelancong asing dah mula masuk, tapi isi semualah. Mungkin kelak akan ramai git pada bulan 6 kelak ada musim Rainforest, mungkin banyak lagi tarikan dari orang asing atau semenanjung untuk datang ke Sarawak.
Meanwhile, for Sales and Marketing Manager of Sarawak Cultural Village, ZAINUDDIN, the number of visitors to the village this year shows an increasing trend. Since April 1st, the Sarawak Cultural Village had been receiving international visitors.
Kita telah kembali membuka untuk pelancong-pelancong, ada yang dari luar dan dalam negara. Tapi untuk permulaan kita pembukaan kita depend so much dengan yang local market lah. So sekarang ni kita telah banyak menerima untuk bulan Januari kita ada 3,000 lebih pelancong datang, local dan Malaysian ya. Dan setakat tu untuk selepas 1 April itu kita ada receive foreign guests lah.
Coming up right after the break, ringgit expected to trend downwards and death toll rises to 27 in Delhi fire. Right here on TVS Nightline, stay tuned. Thank you for staying with me. There has been a significant rise in hand, foot and mouth disease HFMD cases in the country, with a total of 28,957 cases registered from January to yesterday, compared to only 4,239 cases for the whole of last year.
However, Health Minister Khairi Jamaluddin said the increase was expected with the reopening of all economic sectors, including the reoperation of the education sector and resumption of face-to-face learning, as well as kindergartens and childcare centers. Kyrie added that this should be a reminder to the public to take care and be aware of one's personal hygiene, as for 2 years we have never thought of other disease apart from the coronavirus. As such, he advised the public to make use of the My Sejahtera application, as it contains a feature which provides information on cases of infectious diseases, such as hotspots area of certain diseases. This can be helpful to avoid being infected by the disease. On COVID-19, Kyrie said the number of cases had slightly increased after almost 2 weeks of Shawwal and advised the public to continue wearing the face mask when in crowded places.
On the same note, the increase in HFMD disease in several states recently has raised concern, especially among parents and those in the education sector. As such, according to pediatrician and head of pediatrics of Ara Damansara Medical Center, Dr. Raki Yadav, the spread of this disease is due to the high population, apart from the neglect of social distancing and hygiene outdoors.
So basically, the states that are having the highest number of outbreaks are Wilayah, Klang Valley, Perak, as well as Penang, and these are one of the most highly populated states in the country. So we're seeing a higher number of cases because we're moving into the endemic phase. And
he added that as the country moves into the endemic phase, the outbreak of such disease could occur rapidly among children and even more so in adults.
Endemic phase basically means a lot of us are going back to our norms. We're starting back extracurricular activities. Children are going back to daycare centers and taskas, schools and kindergartens. And the sheer load of the number of children going back, I think, will increase the risk of a child or even an adult developing hand-foot-mouth disease, because as we know, it can spread even through respiratory droplets.
In addition, the relief of the number of capacity in a premise also contributed to the increase of HFMD disease. Apart from that, Dr. Raki also advised the community to practice a maximum level of hygiene wherever and whenever to curb the spread of HFMD. The ringgit is expected to trend downward against the US dollar next week due to the lack of catalysts. And according to an analyst, there were multiple factors that seem to negatively affect the economic recovery momentum.
Bank Islam Malaysia Berhad's chief economist Muhammad Afzani Zaim Abdul Rashid said despite the rise in the overnight policy rate and better than expected gross domestic product performance for the first quarter of 2022, the US dollar ringgit pair continued to linger on the weaker side. He said, at present, the ringgit's resistance level against the US dollar was located at 4.447 ringgit, while the support level was at 4.340 ringgit. On Friday, May 13, Bank Negara Malaysia announced that the economy rebounded in the first quarter of 2022, with a 5% growth versus a contraction of 0.5% in the same quarter last year, buoyed by improving domestic demand as economic activities continue to normalize with the easing of containment measures. Its governor, Noor Shamsia Muhammad Yunus, said the domestic economy was expected to improve further this year, with growth projected to be between 5.3% and 6.3% in 2022. Noor Shamsia said the volatility index had also gone up constantly, which resulted in a stronger US dollar while currencies in other countries were seen to depreciate against the greenback. On a weekly basis, the ringgit was lower against the greenback at 4.3980 ringgit on Friday, May 13, compared to 4.3650 ringgit a week earlier. However, the local note was traded mostly higher against a basket of major currencies on a Friday-to-Friday basis.
Now on to some global affairs. The death toll has risen to 27, whereas 30 were injured in a fire that broke out in western Delhi, India, on Friday, May 13. The Delhi police said 50 people were rescued from the fire that engulfed a 4-story building in the Manka area.
Local media reported that some people jumped off windows or used ropes to slide down from the upper floors of the commercial building located near a metro rail station. Meanwhile, more than 30 fire tenders were pressed into service to bring the fire under control. However, it was not immediately clear what caused the fire, but a municipal official suspected an electrical short circuit. The incident was reported around 4:40 p.m., but its devastating impact only became clear during the night when rescuers searched for survivors and bodies.
Thousands of Palestinians attended the funeral of Al Jazeera reporter Shireen Abu Akleh, who was killed while reporting in the occupied West Bank on Wednesday, May 11th. Palestinian authorities describe Abu Akleh's killing as an assassination by Israeli forces. Israel's government initially suggested Palestinian fire might have been to blame, but officials have also said they could not rule out it was Israeli gunfire that killed her. The Al Jazeera reporter's death has drawn widespread condemnation. Video footage from the moments after she was shot showed Abu Akleh, 51, wearing a blue vest marked press. At least 2 of her colleagues who were with her said that they had come under Israeli sniper fire and that they were not close to militants. Palestinians in Jerusalem closed their shops to pay tribute to the late reporter. Israel, which has voiced regret at Abu Akleh's death, has proposed a joint investigation with the Palestinians, asking them to provide the bullet for examination. However, the Palestinians have rejected the Israeli request. Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas on Thursday, May 12, said Israel was fully responsible and called for an international investigation. Traditional Malay songs are a form of art that symbolizes the rich culture of the Malay race. Thus, preserving the art is crucial to conserve the stories of those that come before us and ensure that their struggles are not forgotten. Tune in to Sejahtera Asia at 7:30 a.m. tomorrow, where they will be discussing on Sarawak's traditional Malay songs with guest Zamhari Mustafa, a former school principal, and Abdul Latif Poli, a music tutor and lecturer at the Open University Malaysia, only on Astra Channel 122. That's all the time we have for TVS Nightline. For more headlines, head to our website at TVSTVMY or follow us on our social media. I'm Handy Gui. Stay safe and have a pleasant night.